The challenge is set. Tomorrow, you will face the trials of the leopard. Only the strong will return worthy of my daughter. Listen closely, sons of Ikot. The dawn brings light, but also judgment. Do not dishonor the tradition.
The village of Ikot was quiet when Chief Daniel made his demand. His daughter, Rose, had suitors lined at his door. She was beautiful, gentle, and admired. But Chief Daniel was not ready to give her hand to just any man. He wanted proof of courage. One evening, he gathered the young men under the moonlight. His voice was deep as he spoke. The bride price for my daughter will not be gold or yams. It will be the rare spirit flower that grows deep inside the forbidden forest. The men gasped. Everyone knew details. The forbidden forest was ruled by unseen beings. At night, voices echoed from the trees, and strange lights moved like eyes. Many who entered never returned. But Chief Daniel stood firm. Only a man who dares the spirits can marry my daughter. Rose listened with fear. She knew this meant death for many who loved her. Yet she had no power to change her father's word. Among the suitors was a quiet hunter named Samuel. He had always loved Rose, but kept his heart hidden. That night, his eyes never left her face. Rose's tears glistened in the moonlight. She prayed silently that no man would perish for her. But the law of the village was stronger than love. By dawn, the suitors whispered among themselves. Some said they would go, others shook their heads in fear. The forest waited. The next morning, Rose sat by the stream with her friend Esther. Her heart was heavy. Esther touched her hand. "Why does your father set such a price?" Rose shook her head. "He says no man deserves me unless he proves his courage. But what is courage if it costs lives?" They watched the water flow. Rose remembered the old stories her grandmother told her. Spirits with hollow eyes, trees that bled when cut, flowers that whispered names of the dead. She trembled. If Samuel enters that forest, he may never return. Esther looked at her. "Do you love him?" Rose turned away. She had never spoken her feelings aloud, but her silence was enough. That night, Samuel passed near her compound. He carried a small bowl and a bag of charms given by his mother. Rose called softly, "Samuel, don't go." He stopped. "I must go, Rose. My heart has no peace if I do not try." Her eyes filled. "If you die, your blood will be on me." He smiled sadly. "If I live, it will be for you." Their words floated like secrets in the wind. At that moment, a cold breeze blew from the forest, rustling the trees. Rose shivered. She felt the spirits already listening. At sunrise, the elders of Ikot gathered in the village square. They lit a small fire, sprinkling salt into the flames. Elder Matthew spoke. "The forbidden forest is not like other places. It is a land of bargains. Once you step in, the spirits demand respect. Do not speak loudly. Do not touch what is not yours. And above all, never answer when the dead call your name." The suitors listened with pale faces. Some shifted nervously. Samuel stood still, his jaw firm. Elder Matthew's eyes met his. "Young hunter, the flower you seek grows by the river of whispers. It shines like fire at night, but it is guarded. Many have tried, none returned." The crowd murmured. Chief Daniel lifted his staff. "Let the strong prove their worth. Whoever returns with the spirit flower shall take my daughter's hand." Rose lowered her gaze, hiding her tears. That evening, women of the village sang songs of protection, tying red pots around the suitor's arms. The drums echoed with a rhythm of fear and hope. As darkness fell, Samuel prayed silently. He asked for the spirits of his ancestors to guide his steps. Somewhere in the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes watched from the forest edge. The suitors were restless. Some sharpened their cutlasses, others rubbed chalk on their bodies for protection. Samuel sat alone under a tree. His heart was steady, but his mind was heavy with Rose's face. His mother approached quietly. She carried a small calabash full of palm oil and herbs. "My son," she whispered, "this is the oil of silence. Rub it on your chest before you enter the forest. It will hide your scent from wandering spirits." Samuel took it with respect. "Mother, if I do not return..." She cut him off. "Do not speak death. Your ancestors walk with you." Meanwhile, Rose lit a clay lamp in her hut. She prayed to the gods of the land. "Let no blood be spilled because of me. Let no heart be broken." Tears ran down her cheeks. Across the village, two of the suitors argued. One, named Philip, laughed loudly. "This is foolishness. The forest will eat us alive." The other, Jacob, clenched his fists. "Yet I will go. I would rather die than live without Rose." The drums played long into the night, carrying fear through the air. The forest loomed at the edge of the village, silent, waiting. The morning came with mist heavy over the land. The suitors gathered at the edge of the forbidden forest. Villagers came to watch, whispering prayers. Elder Matthew lifted his staff covered in cowries. "Step carefully. Once you cross the first tree, you belong to the spirits until you return." Samuel rubbed the oil of silence on his chest. Philip scoffed but followed. Jacob tied his red cloth tighter. One by one, they stepped past the first giant tree. The air changed. It was colder, heavier, filled with whispers. The forest seemed alive, breathing. The path was narrow, winding between trees as tall as mountains. Strange bird cries echoed. Shadows shifted where no man walked. Suddenly, a branch broke behind them. They turned. Nothing. Yet the ground shook faintly, as though something large moved in the distance. Philip muttered nervously. "The elders tell us stories to frighten us. Nothing is here." But his voice trembled. Samuel kept silent. He remembered the warning, "Do not speak loudly." Hours passed. The forest swallowed the sunlight. Only faint blue light glowed between the trees. Then far ahead, a faint humming sound began. It was soft, like a woman singing. Jacob froze. "Do you hear that?" Samuel nodded slowly. "The forest has begun to speak."
The singing grew clearer. A woman's voice, sweet and sorrowful, floated through the air. "Samuel! Samuel!" Samuel's heart raced. His name, Elder Matthew's warning, returned to his mind. "Never answer when the dead call your name." Jacob grabbed his arm. "Do not speak." But Philip stepped forward. "It is just a woman. Maybe Rose followed us." He called out, "Who is there?" At once, the forest grew still. The singing stopped. Then a shadow glided between the trees, too tall, too thin. Its face was hidden. Philip stumbled back, fear flooding his eyes. The shadow whispered his name. He screamed and ran into the trees. His footsteps vanished. Silence returned. Jacob and Samuel stood frozen. Samuel whispered, "He is gone." The forest swallowed Philip. The path ahead was darker now, as though the spirits had marked their presence. Jacob's voice shook. "One mistake, and you are lost." They walked on. Each step felt heavier. The whispers followed, calling names, laughing softly. At last, they reached a clearing. In the middle stood a tree with bark as white as bone. At its roots lay skulls, half buried in the soil. Samuel looked at the skulls and understood. These were the ones who had come before them. And still, the flower was far ahead. By nightfall, Samuel and Jacob reached the edge of the River of Whispers. The water was dark, flowing slowly, yet voices rose from it, as if hundreds of people were speaking at once. Some voices begged, some cried, others laughed cruelly. On the far side of the river, glowing faintly, was the spirit flower. It shone red and gold, like fire captured in petals. Jacob gasped, "There it is!" But the river stretched wide. No bridge, no canoe, only the voices, rising louder. One voice called Jacob's name. It was the voice of his dead mother. "My son, cross to me." Tears filled Jacob's eyes. "Mother?" He stepped closer to the river. Samuel grabbed him. "It is a trap. Do not listen." But Jacob shook free. "I cannot ignore her. She calls me." He stepped into the water. At once, the river rose like hands, pulling him down. His scream was swallowed. The water stilled. His voice joined the whispers. Samuel stood alone. His heart pounded. Only one flower, one man left. The spirits laughed, their voices echoing. "Will you pay the price, Samuel?" Samuel stared at the glowing flower across the river. His journey had only begun. Samuel stood at the riverbank, trembling. The spirit flower glowed on the far side, bright like a living flame. The whispers grew louder. "Samuel, Samuel, trade with us." He shut his eyes. He remembered Elder Matthew's warning. The forest is a land of bargains. Spirits always demand something in return. The water shifted and a figure rose. It was tall, cloaked in shadows, with eyes that burned like coals. Its voice was deep. "Hunter, you seek the flower of fire. To cross, you must give me what you love most." Samuel's chest tightened. He knew what the spirit meant. "Rose." He said no. "Her life is not mine to give." The spirit's laugh was like thunder. "Then give me your voice. Without it, you cannot call for help. Without it, you cannot sing the songs of your people." Samuel's hand went to his throat. A voice was power, memory, and heritage. But without the flower, Rose would belong to another man. Slowly, he nodded. "Take it." The spirit stretched a hand. Samuel felt fire burn his throat. He opened his mouth, but no sound came. His voice was gone. The river parted like a wound in the earth, revealing a dry path. The spirits whispered with delight. Samuel stepped forward now, silent but stronger in his resolve. Samuel walked across the dry river path, his steps steady, though his chest burned with silence. The whispers followed, mocking, calling, but he pressed on. At last, he reached the other side. The spirit flower stood before him, glowing brighter than any flame. Its petals opened and closed like breathing. He knelt, staring at it. The flower was more than beauty, it was alive. He reached out, but before his fingers touched, the ground trembled. The flower spoke. Its voice was like hundreds of voices woven together. "Mortal, why do you seek me?" Samuel could not answer. His voice was gone. He pressed his hand to his heart, then pointed towards the village. The flower laughed. "You trade your voice for love. Foolish! Many before you begged, lied, and stole. None returned." Samuel bowed his head, pressing his palm to the soil in respect. His silence was his answer. The flower trembled, then released a soft light that covered him. At last, it bent its stem, allowing him to pluck it. The moment he touched it, a scream echoed through the forest. The spirits wailed, trees shook, the river roared. Samuel held the glowing flower close. He had succeeded, but the forest was now awake. Samuel turned to flee, clutching the spirit flower. The dry river path closed behind him, water surging high with fury. Faces rose in the waves, spirits with hollow eyes. They reached for him, hissing, but Samuel ran, his legs swift as deer. The forest roared, trees bent as though alive, blocking his path. Roots burst from the soil, trying to snare his feet. From the shadows, the tall spirit with burning eyes appeared. "You cannot steal from us, hunter. The price is never enough." Samuel tightened his grip on the flower. He could not speak, but his silence screamed defiance. He darted left, weaving between trees. His breath came hard, but the oil of silence on his chest still shielded him. The spirits smelled nothing, only the light of the flower. At last, he burst into the clearing where skulls lay. The white tree shook, dropping bones that clattered against the ground. Voices called his name, louder, fiercer, but Samuel kept running. The forest darkened. No stars, no moon. Only the glow of the flower guided him. Suddenly, ahead, he saw a faint torchlight. The edge of the forest, the village beyond. Relief surged in his heart. But then, behind him, the ground cracked open and something vast began to crawl out.
From the crack in the earth rose a creature made of bones. Skulls, ribs, and spines clattered together, forming a giant with empty eyes. It stood taller than the trees, its steps shaking the ground. Samuel froze. The monster roared, a sound like thunder rolling through graves. Spirits swarmed its body, glowing like fireflies trapped in death. It pointed at him with a claw of bones. "Return what belongs to the dead." Samuel clutched the flower to his chest. His silence was his only shield. The monster charged. Trees split under its weight. Skulls rolled across the ground. Samuel leapt aside, dodging its strike. He sprinted, but the giants followed, faster than any beast. His lungs burned, his legs weakened, yet his will was stronger than fear. He thought of Rose, her eyes, her voice, her prayers. He could not fail. The village drumbeats reached faintly through the forest. The people were waiting, praying. Samuel burst from the shadows, but the monster of bones crashed after him. The villagers screamed as they saw the giant emerge behind Samuel, towering, terrible. Children cried, women held their heads. Samuel stumbled into the open square, flower in hand, as the monster raised a claw to strike. The elders rushed forward, chanting. They threw salt and ash into the fire. The ground trembled. Chief Daniel stepped out, staff in hand. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. "You cannot take him, spirit. He has paid the price." The bone giant roared, shaking the huts. "He has stolen from the forest." Elder Matthew lifted his staff. "No, he has traded his voice. The bargain was sealed." The monster hesitated. The spirit within its bones shrieked. The flower glowed brighter, burning like the sun. Samuel raised it high, silent but unbroken. The giants shrank back, crumbling piece by piece. Skulls tumbled, spines shattered. At last, it collapsed into dust that blew away with the wind. The villagers fell to their knees in awe. Samuel stood in the center, trembling, flower in hand, but mute forever. Chief Daniel approached slowly. His eyes softened. "You have done what no man dared. You have walked with spirits, given your voice, and returned alive. The bride price is paid." Rose ran forward, tears streaming. She touched Samuel's hand, her heart breaking at his silence. Yet her eyes shone with pride and love. The drums thundered. The village sang. But in the shadows of the forest, unseen, the spirits whispered. The price of love was never truly finished. The village rejoiced, yet Samuel stood apart, his throat aching with silence. The spirit flower was placed in a clay pot at the shrine. Its glow filled the square, driving away shadows. Chief Daniel lifted his staff. "From this day, Samuel is the husband of my daughter." The villagers cheered, drums thundered, women danced. But Samuel did not smile. He could not shout, could not sing, could not even whisper his joy. Rose approached him shyly. She touched his hand. "You came back. You gave everything for me, even your voice." Her voice trembled. Samuel nodded. His eyes said what his mouth could not. Love, fierce and unbroken, burned there. That night, the village feasted. Goats were roasted, palm wine flowed, songs of victory rose high. But Samuel sat quietly. Every time Rose looked at him, her heart ached. He was alive, but he was changed forever. In the forest, the spirits watched the celebration. Their laughter echoed like distant thunder. The man has won his bride, but the forest never lets go. The wedding day came quickly. The village dressed in their finest wrappers and beads. Rose wore a white cloth, her hair adorned with cowries. Samuel wore a hunter's skin, red cloth tied at his waist. The elders blessed the union. They poured libation on the earth, calling on the ancestors to witness. But as the feast began, a strange wind swept through the square. Lamps flickered. The spirit flower, glowing in its pot, shook violently. The people gasped. Elder Matthew frowned. The spirits are restless. Rose clutched Samuel's hand. "Why will they not leave us?" Samuel could not answer, but his silence was heavy. He knew the forest always demanded more. As night fell, the drums faltered. Owls cried from the forest edge. Some villagers whispered that the marriage was cursed. Others warned that a bargain with spirits was never finished. But Chief Daniel stood tall. "My daughter is wed. No spirit can undo what has been sealed by blood and courage." Yet, in the shadows, something unseen stirred, waiting. The morning after the wedding, Rose awoke with a chill. Samuel slept beside her, but his breath was shallow, his skin cooled. She shook him. His eyes opened, but they were distant, clouded. She ran to Elder Matthew. He listened carefully, then sighed. The spirits still hold part of him. They will not release him so easily. Rose's heart pounded. "What must I do?" The elder's eyes darkened. "If you want him free, you must go where he went. You must face the forest yourself." Rose froze. The same forest that swallowed men whole, that nearly killed Samuel. But she looked back at her husband, silent, fading like smoke. Love stilled her. "Then I will go." The elder gave her a charm of chalk and charcoal. "Mark your body, and the spirits will see you as half shadow. But take care, if they notice you fully, you may never return." That night, while the village slept, Rose tied a cloth around her waist, painted her arms with chalk, and stepped towards the forest. The trees loomed, tall and black. The voices began at once, whispering her name.
The forest seemed even darker than when Samuel entered. Rose walked slowly, clutching her charm. The air smelled of damp earth and smoke. The whispers rose. Rose, Rose, come to us. She gritted her teeth. I will not answer. Shadows glided between trees. Some looked like men, some like animals, some like both. She pressed the chalk on her skin. For a moment, they passed her by. But then, ahead, she saw something that broke her resolve. Her grandmother, long dead, stood, smiling, arms open. Child, you are safe. Come. Rose's knees shook. She longed to run into those arms. But she remembered the elder's words. The dead call your name to claim you. She shut her eyes, whispering to herself, Samuel needs me. I will not stay here. The figure vanished. A cry of anger echoed through the trees. Deeper she went. The white tree appeared, its roots heavy with skulls. One skull rolled toward her feet, its mouth opening. Turn back, girl. Rose's body trembled, but her spirit hardened. I cannot. The path led her to the river of whispers. Its voices rose like a storm. The river of whispers churned, darker than before. Faces rose in the water, crying, laughing, begging. Rose saw Jacob's face, Samuel's friend, trapped in the waves. Rose, help me! Her tears fell, but she knew she could not touch the river. A shadow appeared, the tall spirit with burning eyes. Its voice rumbled. You follow your husband. Do you think the forest gives back what it takes so easily? Rose lifted her chin. I have no fear. He gave his voice for me. I will give myself for him. The spirit laughed. Bravery in a woman. Rare. It leaned closer. To free him, you must trade what no flower can replace. Your shadow. Without it, you will walk among the living but never belong. You will be half of yourself forever. Rose's body shook. A shadow was life itself. Without it, she would never be whole. But then she thought of Samuel, fading, silent, bound by the spirits. She swallowed her fear. Then take it, I give my shadow. The spirit stretched a hand. Darkness tore from her feet, lifting into his palm. The river stilled. Rose looked back. Her shadow was gone. After giving up her shadow, Rose felt weak. Her feet touched the ground, but no shadow followed her. She looked pale, like part of her was missing. The river of whispers grew silent, and on the other side stood the spirit flower once again, glowing like a living fire. Its petals turned toward her. Why have you come, child of men? The flower asked. Rose's voice shook. To free Samuel. He gave his voice for me. Now he fades. Take me instead. The flower shimmered, its glow softer. So love drives you here. Many come for glory, few come for love. Rose knelt, bowing her head. Take me, but let him live. The flower trembled, releasing a beam of red light that spread across the forest. The trees shook, the ground split. From the beam, a figure appeared, Samuel. His voice was still gone, but his body was whole, his eyes alive again. Rose gasped. He rushed to her, touching her face, tears shining in his eyes. The flower spoke again. The bargain is sealed. But remember, the forest never gives without taking. He has no voice. You have no shadow. Together you will live, but never untouched by the spirits. The glow faded. Silence returned. Rose and Samuel walked back toward the village. The forest groaned as they left, but no spirits blocked their path. The skulls watched in silence, the shadows bowed. When they stepped into the village square, the people gasped. Rose's missing shadow terrified them. Some screamed, others covered their faces. Chief Daniel trembled. What price have you paid, my daughter? Elder Matthew answered softly. She has traded her shadow. The forest marks her as its own. The villagers murmured. Some whispered that she was cursed. Others said she was blessed, chosen by the spirits. Samuel held her hand tightly.
his eyes fierce with love. Though he could not speak, his silence carried strength. Rose lifted her head. I am still your daughter. I am still a wife. The spirits may take my shadow, but they cannot take my heart. The crowd grew quiet. Slowly the people bowed their heads. They could not deny the courage she had shown. That night, no feast was held. Instead, the village sat in silence, staring at the glowing flower in the shrine, whispering prayers for the couple who had walked with spirits and returned. Days passed. Rose and Samuel lived as husband and wife. But life was not simple. Children in the village stared at Rose's feet, whispering. Women avoided her in the market, afraid her missing shadow meant bad luck. Samuel hunted quietly, his silence a constant reminder of his sacrifice. Rose walked beside him, proud yet lonely. At night, Rose dreamed of the forest. In her sleep, shadows gathered round her bed, whispering, half of you belongs to us. She would wake shaking, holding Samuel's hand for comfort. Yet their love grew deeper. They spoke through eyes, through touch, through silence. Where others saw curses, they saw each other's bravery. One evening, the elders called them before the shrine. Elder Matthew said, your marriage is not only yours, it belongs to the whole village. You remind us that love has a cost. Chief Daniel looked at his daughter, his voice heavy. I set this bride price, but I did not know it would wound my child so deeply. Forgive me. Rose's eyes softened. Father, it is done. What matters is that love survived. The spirit flower glowed softly in its pot, as if listening. Seasons changed. Rose and Samuel grew older. The forest remained at the village's edge, silent, waiting. Children told stories of the hunter who lost his voice and the bride who lost her shadow. Some called it a curse, others a blessing, but everyone agreed it was love that carried them through. One night, as the moon shone bright, Samuel sat outside watching the stars. Rose joined him, resting her head on his shoulder. For the first time, Samuel opened his mouth. A sound came, not words, but a hum, soft like the wind. His voice had not returned fully, yet it was something. Rose smiled, tears in her eyes. Even silence can sing. From the forest an owl cried. The trees rustled. The spirits were still there, watching, whispering, but they did not come. The flower in the shrine glowed faintly, its fire dim but unbroken. The villagers too learned to live with the mystery. They respected Samuel and Rose, for they had paid the highest price of all.
The story of their sacrifice spread beyond Ikot, told in neighboring villages, carried by travelers, sung in moonlit gatherings. And so it was said, when love is true, no forest, no spirit, no shadow can ever defeat it.